I wanted to look at Ghazali's typology of knowledge in Al-Mustasfa. It's very common in traditional Islamic books to classify different types of knowledge and which knowledge is more prestigious and all that, and what are the reasons. And Ghazali does that in almost every book, and in every book there is like different angle. So because this book is about usul al-fiqh, the principle of legal and moral reasoning, so his angle is a bit different here, but let's look at it anyway. So it's at the start. I'll just skip on the introduction where he prays God and then blessing on the Prophet, and then introduces his topic. And he goes on to say that the path to the truth, I guess, there are two types. There are only two correct paths, and one is knowledge and the other is deed. So that's how he starts. So the right paths are only two. One is knowledge, the other is deed, ilm and amal. So that's how it starts. So you're seeking truth, and there are only two ways, two right paths, that of knowledge and that of deed. Okay. And وَالْعِلْمُ أَنْجَحَهُمَا وَأَرْبَحُهُمَا. But between these two, although these are both the correct paths, the correct ways, the knowledge is more fruitful and more prestigious. And this is in contrast to what he says in here, this is a bit different. And Al-Mustasfa was written after here, as he says in the introduction. In here, is a lot of emphasis on deed. And he criticizes those who go too deep into knowledge at the expense of deed. But there's no incompatibility as such, because his objectives in here are totally different than here. But anyway, he divides knowledge into the paths into two paths, knowledge and deed. And he says the path of knowledge is more prestigious and more fruitful, and he'll give you the reason for that too. And what's the reason that knowledge is superior to deed? Because فإنه, that is knowledge, أيضا من العمل ولكنه عمل القلب الذي يعز الأعضاء. So it is more prestigious than deed, because knowledge itself is a deed. And it is the deed of the most prestigious part in us, which he calls, what does he call it? Qalb. And qalb is sort of center of consciousness, center of consciousness. And sometimes they use the word fuad, which has the same meaning. So qalb in Arabic can also mean heart, but they don't mean the heart, the physical heart. But what by qalb they mean is center of consciousness. So knowledge is superior to deed because knowledge itself is a deed. So in knowledge, in a sense, we combine theoretical knowledge and practical knowledge and deed, because it is knowledge itself is the deed of the best part in us. So another way or another reason for the superiority of knowledge over action is that knowledge is a deed which emanates from or flows from the best part in us, which is qalb, the center of consciousness. Or you can call it mind if you wish. So that's the reason. And the other deeds which we normally call deed, they flow from other parts of body which are not as prestigious as the heart or the qalb or the mind. So that's the first things. والطاعة طاعتان عمل وعلم والعلم أنجحهما وأربحهما فإنه أيضا من العمل ولكنه عمل القلب الذي يعز الأعضاء وسعي العقل الذي هو أشرف الأشياء. And so the first reason is that knowledge is superior to deed. So there are sort of three reasons for. So superior to deed because it's a combination of knowledge and deed. Yeah. And the second is that it flows from the best part in us, which is qalb or mind. And number three is the فإنه أيضا من القلب الذي يعز الأعضاء والسعي العقل الذي هو أشرف الأشياء. And it's the product of the سعي العقل. سعي العقل is reason. So reason. So I guess it's a function of mind. So the third reason why knowledge is superior to deed is because it's the product of the function of reason, which is the best of the functions, the best of the faculties. So reason. So knowledge is superior to or prior to or more prestigious to the deed because it is itself a deed. So it's a combination of knowledge and deed, and it's a deed of the best part in us, which is mind, and it's the product of the function of the best faculty in us, which is reason. So these are the three. For these three reasons, and then he goes on to say that the faculty of reason is the best of the things, because that reason is what makes reason is the basis of everything. So it's the basis of morality, basis of law. And he's alluding to here because in Islamic law, if you lose your reason, then you are not responsible. So the law doesn't apply in that sense to the kids or to people who are not fully developed rationally, or people who don't have reason, like mad or whatever. So reason is the best of things, because the basis of morality is the basis of law, is the basis of religion, in that more general sense. And لأنه مركب الديانة وحامل الأمانة. And reason is that trust. So he's talking here about the trust which God had presented to, that's in Quran, that presented to the heavens and the earth and the mountain, and they found themselves unable to bear that trust. But human beings have borne that trust, and that trust which human beings have borne is the trust of reason, because on that basis they have freedom, and on that basis they have responsibility, and on that basis they are responsible, and they would be questioned. So that's the third reason. لأنه مركب الديانة وحامل الأمانة إذا عرضت على الأرض والجبال والسماء فأشفقن من حملها وأبين أن يحملنها غاية الإباء. Okay, so that's the first classification is finished here, which is between the path. There are two paths. There are two paths, that of knowledge and that of deed, and they both are important, but knowledge is superior because knowledge is itself a deed, and its deed is the deed. Knowledge as a deed is superior to other deeds or actions, because firstly it's the combination of knowledge and deed, and secondly it flows from the best part in human beings, which is heart, and three, it is a function of the best faculty, which is reason, and which is the basis of all human freedom, and which is the basis of human responsibility and all that. Okay, now from here that's why he classifies now knowledge. So he leaves out the deed here and classifies the knowledge, types of knowledge. And basically he divides knowledge into three types on the basis of reason. So there are three types of knowledge. Those are based on pure rationality. So they aren't based on experience or opinions of others. And he puts here basically all what you will, I guess, arithmetics, but I guess hisab is more than arithmetic. Anything related to calculation, handasa, well, that can be geometry and all things related to it, so that's comes on. And ilmun nujum, so old cosmology, which was basically so these are knowledge which are based on pure rationality, in the sense that human beings don't need any guidance from God. Except for that guidance which he has given through rational faculty and whatever are the basis of rationality. So that's the one type of knowledge. So ثم العلوم الثلاثة عقلي محض, so purely rational. لا يحث الشرع عليه ولا يندب عليك الحساب وأمثاله من العلوم فهي بين الظنون الكاذب اللاصق بها من بعد وظن اسمه بين علوم الصادق. So and these sort of knowledge, they some of them are, correct. Some of them are based on, certainty. Some are uncertain, but others, like, I guess, the old astrology and old astrology, that's mostly you would think they're based on speculation, which are not true. So so rational knowledge, knowledge based on pure rationality, can be true, like arithmetic knowledge, I guess, and geometry, but it can be, mostly untrue, like astrology. And then the second type of knowledge is which is based on pure. The second type of knowledge is based on pure وَنَقْلِ مَحَدٍ, so based on tradition, I guess. So tradition, which basically, because it relates to what other people said, so it required transmission. And I guess so it is based on pure tradition, so like Quran, you can't invent it. So people just transmit to you what was revealed to the Prophet or what the Prophet said. So Hadith, what the Prophet said, so you can't invent what he said. You have to listen to others who listen to him and things, and you have to make sure that this transmission is correct. But apart from that, as far as Quran and Hadith is concerned, you can't invent it like you invent arithmetic and things. You can understand it and things, so that's different material. But I think he is talking about just the transmission stage. And then so this is the second type of knowledge, where you basically don't use your reason, because it's not something. What you need is to ensure that the transmission is correct. So those type of knowledge where, so for example, history would be in this type of knowledge, because in history, as you need to make sure that you have been transmitted correct, what happened correctly. You can't invent history in that sense. And the third type of knowledge, and he said they are the most prestigious knowledge, because they are the combination of pure rationality plus, sorry, so the second one I didn't read, I should read it. وَنَقْلِ مَحْدٍ. So the second type of knowledge are knowledge which are based on transmission, like the history or the sayings of the Prophet, what the tafasir. And the only thing he says you need to transmit these things is good memory. You don't need to use much of rationality in any other sense in transmitting them. And the third thing is those type of knowledge which are the combination of transmission and pure rationality. And here so those type of knowledge which are combination of pure rationality plus transmission. And they are best because you use both reason and your I guess if we want to use Aristotelian term, can you say endoxa or reputable opinion? And he, in those, واصطحب في الرأي والشرع وعلم الفقه ووصوله من هذا الكبير. So these are the type of knowledge in which you combine rationality with traditional and transmitted knowledge. Now, I think he is taking it as on face value or as something which doesn't need any argument, that the knowledge which are a combination of rationality and traditional are better than which are just based on reason or which are based on just tradition. I guess we can construct some argument, but he hasn't given us any argument as such, but he just said that it's the third type of knowledge. And in these types of knowledge, you have traditional material, and then you use reason to understand it and develop them. So, and the third type of knowledge, he talk about usul fiqh, which the Al-Mustasfa, the book, is about usul fiqh. So in usul fiqh, you basically what is usul fiqh? We'll take Ghazali's definition later on, not in this video, but basically usul fiqh deals with argumentation and its type and use the whole theory of signification, dilala. So it's basically a combination. It's basically what you can call Islamic logic or logic in a sense. It's different from logic, but it's we can call it legal reasoning, but it is more than legal reasoning. So you're inventing and you're studying what the type of reasoning, use of words and use of sentences, and so there's a lot of rational classification and rationality, and the way the rationality works, and how to distinguish between good reasons and bad reasons, etc. And you use it, and then you talk about sources of Islamic law and morality. So you have Quran and you have Hadith, and you have rational analogy, and you have consensus of the community, and you use this rational argument, and you develop methods on how to understand or drive guidance for our life from these four sources, using the known rules and arguments, and drive the unknown and upcoming and new, and apply them to a new situation, etc. So that's one of the things which usul fiqh does. And he says that this is one of the best type of knowledge, because you're using your reason and you're using it to understand the best transmitted things, which are Quran and Hadith, and then analogy, obviously rules of analogy, and then consensus of the community, and you are applying it for how to live a better life for an individual and for a community. So that's what. So, but what makes it better, or better type of knowledge than other two types, is that you are using both faculties: the faculty of listening to facts or listening to what is said and using your own reason and your freedom. وأشرف العلوم في العقل والسمع واستحب فيه الرأي والشرع. So it's a combination of where you use your own opinion with the opinion of the lawgiver. So وعلم الفقه وأصوله من هذا القبيل فإنه يأخذ من صفو الشرع والعقل سواء السبيل. So it takes from the given what is given to you in terms of tradition and your own reason. So فَلَا هُوَ تَصَرُّ بِمَحْضِ الْعُقُولِ. So this knowledge, it doesn't deal with just pure rationality, in which, the opinions and the traditions are not involved. On the other hand, it is not based on pure opinion and tradition where you just transmit what others said and you don't use your reason. So that's why fiqh and usul fiqh has superiority of other two types of knowledge. But as I said, he doesn't tell us why the combination. I guess the argument can be that you're using reason, which is the best part in us, and you're also using the knowledge which has been transmitted from the tradition, which is the best of the tradition, which is the tradition of the Prophet, and that knowledge comes directly from the revelation and from what God has given you. So you're using human rationality and the wisdom based on the revelation, and you are combining them. So that's why you're combining the two best things. So in that sense, you can say that it is the best of knowledge. And I think Ghazali somewhere says that revelation is a reason from outside, that is from God. And reason is revelation from inside, that is inside humans. So both involve reason, but the only thing is our reason is fallible because our own subjectivity is involved here. But revelation is infallible because our subjectivity is not involved there. We are just receiving what has been transmitted. And as long as we are sure that transmission is fair and square, both are actually reason. So you are combining two types, best type of reason. So that can be an argument for why this type of knowledge is better than the other two types. But he is not degrading other two types of knowledge. He can't, based on his argument that reason is the best. The revelation is obviously important as well. So I thought this was interesting. I'll see if I have anything else to say about it in the next video. Otherwise, there are a lot of other interesting things in this amazing book, which I'll be looking at. Thank you.